People deluded. Thank you very much for tuning back in. Now we know, well, we already know Arsenal have a massive task in terms of rebuilding, but specific to this vid, in terms of rebuilding the playing staff, in terms of moving players on, whether they're star players. If we look at the links with Ozil and Ramsey's transfer to Juventus, which looks to be rubber stamped in that we removed the contract offer and things like that. There's several players. There's several different sort of ranking players. Not to dig out Jenkinson, but you're wondering how he's been at the club for so long. Things like that. We know wages is a big reason as to why we're struggling to off players, which has been a result of poor decision making for year on year. But could one thing that could complicate things even further could be the homegrown players or the homegrown ruling in the Premier League. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I'm a footballing man. I'm not a transfer or a rules man. I do think you need. I think it is. It could be 7, but I think it is 8. It's either 8 or 7 homegrown English players of sorts. Now, homegrown. I think there's a certain rule. If they've been in your club or the academy for a number of years, they can get around that sort of thing. Which you're seeing with Bellerin. Bellerin's definitely counts as homegrown. For example. So what? There'd be Bellerin right now. There's what Bellerin, Danny Welbeck, Aaron Ramsey, Iwobi, Maitland-Niles, Holding, um, Martinez, Ilev. There's just about enough in it. Jenkinson, there's a couple in it. But obviously, if Ramsey's leaving, Welbeck's not being offered a current deal, people, or at least to my knowledge, and he is injured, and it looks to be him going. So that's 2 players already gone. Jenkinson, no disrespect to Jenkinson, because I can't really get onto him at this point. But if we're real with ourselves, he could be used for the squad if we let Lichtsteiner go, for example. But if we're honest, he should have been moved on a while ago because he is on decent money. He should be moved on. Not sure who takes him, but again, because of the homegrown issue, do we now have to keep Jenkinson to get around that? Callum Chambers, I like Callum Chambers, but it remains to be seen whether he can have a future here. He's on loan, so it's a 50-50 thing. For instance, you would think in the name of Deadwood and clearing our books and getting a more competitive squad and things like that, that's someone who's bringing in 15, 20 million or so. Because of the homegrown ruling and players leaving, do we now have to keep Jenkinson and Chambers? Do you get what I'm saying? Martinez is Argentinian, but he definitely counts as homegrown, forgive me if I'm wrong, and he's currently in the side, so he'll have to stay, even if he probably wants to move on and play football. Matt Macy's on loan, but he'll probably have to come into this side. We've got Ilev, the young, well, he's not young, he's 23 years of age. He's been here for 7 years, since 2012 or something like that. Macedonian keeper in the under-23s. Again, he counts as homegrown, so possibly does he step up into the team? Pegluoso, he's 22 years of age. He's played at centre half, and he played the other day at left back. Who did we play in? Who did we play? Manchester City. We played them in the under 23s. If I'm real with you, he probably needs to move on to get football. I'm sure he must be classed as homegrown. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Don't shoot the messenger, people, because I'm not too sure on these players' statuses. But he might have to be moved on. I'm not too sure if Bielik counts as one, but he might have to be moved up. And you're actually thinking, if you're Bielik, as much as I love him and believe in his potential, he said he didn't speak to Unai Emery when he came back on loan. When Unai Emery came to the club and he returned from injury last year and went on loan. Does he depart the club? Because he's 21 years of age now. And obviously, I want a centre-half to come into the club next year. And I do want people to move on. And I do want to give him a chance. But does he consider his future? Obviously, Maitland-Niles and Iwobi are probably of age where they need to be registered next year. We've obviously got young Reece Nelson who will be involved. But a couple of the names I've said in Nelson, Eddie, Joe, Emil Smith-Rowe, Medley, they're actually young, so we can name them as that, but it would be a waste of a spot to name an underage player in it. You don't have to, and we can clearly get around it, but something just, I don't know, people. Does it feel, I don't know, does it feel like to you guys that we might have to consider signing some English players, or with what I've said in mind, or just what I've been thinking, will we be looking at some English players to bring into the club? I'm not too sure, because I'm not too sure how we can get around this homegrown thing clearly, but it does kind of complicate matters even more to a degree. I mean, obviously we've seen Jack Wilshere, Ramsey, Gibbs, Oxlade-Chamberlain. Might as well add Welsh to the list, and there's probably any other examples. Many other examples where we're ramping, to be honest with you, because we need homegrown players, or we can't name some. I'm not too sure, but yesterday I was with my friend. You see my videos on him. I'm not going to say his name. In fact, we'll call him D. He's a Spurs fan. He said an issue as to why Spurs can't bring in a certain player is because of the rules harming them. They can't bring in a foreign player because of their rules. I'm not too sure how valid that is. Spurs fans, you know more than me, but if I look at it, for example, I want Chambers to stay, but if you're looking at raising funds, you're probably looking at Jengison and you're looking at Chambers, for example. You're probably even looking at Ileva Martinez. And if you're real with yourself, if Matt Macy and them man want to play football, we can keep them for the squad. But if they want to play football, they will go. But these names I've just said, if the homegrown issue is an issue for us, can we really allow them to go? So how can we really rebuild this side, or can we really make the fixes we need to? I'm not too sure on Mustafi, even Mustafi's status, because I'm sure he came through Everton's academy. Obviously, he weren't born in England, but he spent time there. I'm not too sure if that makes him eligible for homegrown status in this country, and I'm not too sure if he's registered as homegrown. I don't think he is, but if he is, that's good for us. But even if we wanted to move on Mustafi, which I don't actually feel the club are going to force him out with all the issues we have, it would be an issue if he was counted as homegrown. So on top of average players on big wages, on top of not knowing how much money or how little or how much money we have, or the wage business, and just rebuilding the side, this further complicates matters to a degree. Like I said, we can force it, and at a push we really can get around it and it'll be an issue. But especially if you look at the likes of Jenkinson and Callum Chambers, their futures are probably complicated because of this. But it's nothing more than speculation. The club know more than me. They'll probably deal with, well, I say probably, this club's been doing some smart decisions of recent, but yeah, the club and the individuals are way more qualified than me. We'll see what happens between now and the start of next season. But for now, I'm going to keep it moving. I've offered my 2 pence on this situation. So people, deluded, if you wish, comment, subscribe and do the rest. Thank you for watching and rocking.